Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and it is time for the word. I hope you are all doing well. It's good to be able to get on, with some fellow Leeds fans and do some Leeds-specific content. It's been a while, obviously, with the Christmas period, New Year, all that jazz, but it's start to get into the weekly shows again now because we've got a bit of respite for a bit. I think after Cardiff, it's then like one game a week. So it's like slowing down a little bit like it should be. It'll give us all a bit of a rest. I hope you're all doing well. You will recognise some of the faces. Maybe it's a debut for some. So I will say hello to everyone first of all. And we'll start with your debut on the show, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. There's been a lot of people in the comments on some of my live streams saying I need to get you on as well. So they'll be happy about that, bro. So how you doing, mate? All right?
I'm good, Joe. Thanks for having me on, mate. I've had the same on my channel. I've had lots of people saying you need to collaborate with a couple of people, and you've name dropped them on more than a few occasions. So nice to be here, man.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you, mate. Thank you very much. And Max, I haven't spoke to you for a while. How are you doing, mate?
Yes, since before the World Cup, wasn't it? It was the last time we did one of these. So yeah, it's been a bit of a break, but with lots of football still, and then back to it again with the Leeds stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to get back into the season again properly with Leeds.
Yeah, it's nice. That mic sounds nice as well, bro. You've got a new flashy mic, have you?
Yeah. Use some birthday money and stuff to lump out on a new mic. I think it's the one that you said you wanted, so it should sound nice and crispy now.
Yeah, so you're out of order for getting the one I wanted. There you go. And Rocco, how you doing, brother? You okay? Brought any books over Christmas?
I'm working on one. Yeah, won't be out till April 2024 though. But yeah, I'm excited about the Revy era. Nice. So it's going to be good. Pretty decent period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The best.
A bit.
Yeah, just a bit. The best period. Talking about good periods, are we in one right now? I'm not too sure. Let's get the general consensus amongst the group. I tell you what, no. Let's do Mateusz Klich first of all, right? Let's do Mateusz Klich first of all. I want to just hear what you folks have got to say. I've heard a lot of people be disappointed about the club's failure to announce it to the fans, which I think, look, they do seem to get a lot of this quite wrong at times, to be honest. So I know that's going to be, I guess a lot of people want to comment on that, and I understand it, but I just wanted to maybe focus on Klich, the player, the person, and where he'll go in the annals of Leeds United history. When you consider longevity, 4 or 5 years is it? It's not like a huge period, really. But
it's 6, isn't it now? It's 2017 to 2023, yeah.
So he's had such a profound effect, I think. I think it's a lot of it's due to the Bielsa era, I think. For me personally, my greatest Klich moment, if you like, was and listen, my favourite game, that Stoke game, I'll never forget the feeling when watching us just absolutely murder them, and obviously he scored that goal. But for me personally, it was the Derby game, the away game, the following weekend, because I had this in my head thinking, was that just a one-off? Are we really that good? Do you know what I mean? And then Mateusz Klich scored that goal at Pride Park from outside the box, and we beat them, I think 3-1, maybe it might have been in the second game, I think. And I just thought, do you know what? This isn't a joke. We are really, really that good. And Mateusz Klich scored that afternoon as well. And then obviously he got his chant and everything, and he just went from strength to strength under Marcelo Bielsa. And for me, he's just he's a legend. Even right until the end with his written piece that he did, and like Danny's mentioned when he said, "P.S. Bob, I forgive you." I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. Rocco, I know you look massively fondly on that Bielsa period, much like myself as well. What's Klich for you, pal? What's your best memories of Mateusz?
Yeah, no, he's an absolute hero, isn't he? And it's on the pitch as well as off the pitch. I think under Bielsa, I think he was a bit of an unsung hero in a way, in that he sort of ran the midfield, but he was quite unassuming. He's very, very dominant, and he was always there. And he was always chipping in with goals. I think he got 11 or 12, maybe 10 or 11 goals in the first season. But, other players really got the main plaudits, but Klich is just, it was just the constant, he was just always there and so reliable. It was just fantastic. And then like coming into the Premier League, those first 3 or 4 months, he was incredible. Like for me, he went up a notch, and I was starting to, he was starting to remind me of Pablo. Pablo was out of the team at that point, and he really took it up a notch. And yeah, it faded off for him a bit in that first season, but I think by the end of his Leeds career, he has had a bit of a swan song, especially this season coming on, and it's a shame to see him leave. I think pretty much everyone agrees now that he's still got plenty to offer, and especially with the situation we're in, and someone as well that he loves the club. The fact that he stuck around in the summer as well. When Jesse had pretty much mugged him off last season. Playing bait instead of him and Greenwood on the last day, even though that worked out well. But nevertheless, that's a bit of an insult, really. And he stuck around and tried to. He clearly wanted to stay and continue at Leeds, but. Yeah, I guess the time's come. I'm happy for him, really, and I hope he enjoys this next or last chapter in his career.
Yeah, I have to agree with you in that respect, Rocco, in terms of like, I'm happy that he's been given what he wanted due to the service that he's given us. Do you know what I mean? They could have easily dug their heels in and said, oh, you're not going anywhere, etc. And I'm glad that they didn't do that, because I'm already done with the board. I can't lie to you, but had they have done that as well, I'd have been like, nah, you're taking the mix. I sort of agree with you in terms of how he was like Jesse tried to peddle that, he's played X amount of times, but when you actually dial it down to minutes played, it's not that much. Like, let's not say he's played 30 odd times if it's only 5 minutes a game. You know what I mean? It's not really all that much. But listen, give me an opportunity to have a go at Jesse, I'm going to take it. So I need to let me move it on. Max, thoughts on Mateusz, pal?
I think one of my favourite moments from Klich was the first home game back in the Premier League that we were actually able to go to. I was in the cheese wedge for that game against Everton, the 2-2 draw. And when he bagged in that bottom corner and then ran to the cheese wedge and celebrated, and it was just like an unbelievable moment for him in front of the fans, finally back in the Premier League. And to be honest, I mean, I tweeted that one of the biggest things that I enjoyed about Klich was that it's a modern day footballer with a proper personality, where you're like, hold on, this guy's actually a good laugh. He's looks like he's really enjoying football, winding people up, squirting water down people's necks, and then just laughing and running away. Like, the Klichhausery is something that we'll definitely miss, because it was always there. It was, when he came on, you knew he was going to wind people up, and you knew he was going to do something. And then obviously his graffiti and stuff outside Ellen Road, that'll stay there. So yeah, I think it's good that he had such a personality for a modern day footballer, when you don't see a lot of that nowadays with people's social media being run by a team and stuff. And yeah, it's just nice to see that he had control of his own Twitter account, telling Bob to F off and everything like that. So yeah, I think he was a class bloke, it seemed, from the outside.
Yeah, he liked a tweet I put out, and I'm like 34, and I was like, oh, he's liked my tweet, and I'm like, Joe, you're 34. But genuinely, like, Klich's amazing. Just before I come to yourself, Jason says at the end of the day, we all wanted him to go. That is factually incorrect, mate. I did not want him to leave. So you might have wanted to, but I think it's very short-sighted by some fans. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Don't take it personally. But, we've got Jesse coming out now saying he thinks he's got enough cover in midfield. So we're not going to replace him. And if we don't replace him, then, why not just, he should have stayed. Do you know what I mean? He was promised minutes. He ended up not going to a World Cup because of him staying at this football club. So I think he's been, a bit of a disservice there by the manager. But listen, I don't think everyone wanted him to go. You might have, but I'm not sure everyone did. Joe, what are your thoughts on Klich, mate?
Same as the lads have said. I mean, one of my favourite standout moments of Klich was the Swansea game when we sealed promotion, and there was no fans in the stadium. So Klich ran into the stands so the players could have somebody to celebrate in front of, and he just stood there clapping the players. I thought it was outstanding. And as lads have said, just a modern day footballer with a personality, but a calm head as well on a pitch where it can be a bit frantic. And what we've seen this season, Jesse Marsh's teams this whole frantic style of play, and then you bring someone like Klich into it, and it's just a bit of coolness, a bit of calmness, and especially in the areas. And when he's not scoring those lovely bendy balls from the edge of the box, he's making fools of people in the box. Like, again, that calmness that he has. I didn't want him to leave, and I think what we saw yesterday in the comments that he has made. Apparently, he didn't even sign his release form till after the game, and apparently he had a bit of a wobble as well. And Jesse's saying as well, we're still not sure about this, and he's not sure. But then if you read Klich's statement, he makes it very clear. I don't want to sit on the bench. I want to play games of football. I don't react well to sitting on the bench. So this is giving him a chance to get a good contract to finish. I mean, he'll kill it in the MLS. He'll be an absolute star over there for at least 3 years over there. I do think if it wasn't the end for Klichi, it was coming to the end. I'm really sad to see the guy go, but we've got young players and everyone keeps asking, play the kids, get the young lads into the team. If you're going to do that, you've got to unfortunately sacrifice people as well, and people have to come out of the team. I don't think it was the right time. I wish he could have sat on the bench maybe for the year, because I think he would have got into the team as the more the season went on and we got a run of it. And I still think there is stuff that he can add to the team. It's that bit of class, that bit of experience in the final third, because I think I've said before, we look at my own stuff. We look like two different teams at times. We look like a very good team going forward sometimes and look like a very bad team defensively sometimes. And you've got a player like Klich who has that experience, who's gone through the promotion campaign, who knows what bad looks like at Leeds and then knows what good looks like at Leeds. You've got that sense check for the rest of the young players that are there, and getting rid of that, you lose that experience. And there's only seven left of the championship winning team now. And I think over the next 2-3 transfer windows, that's going to get smaller and smaller and less and move on from that team, unfortunately. But he's been an incredible servant for Leeds. He's given us some incredible moments, scored some beautiful goals. And like the rest of that championship team, whatever anyone says, but I criticize some of them now, even personally, I still criticize a couple of them for they playing right now. But if you look at them over the time they've been at Leeds, they're immortalized in Leeds history. They'll be there forever. I mean, I can tell you the starting 11 from the Leeds team that won the league in the 90s. You'll be able to do the exact same thing from that championship team. You'll be able to name all those players, and Klich will be immortalized in that. And again, as the lads have said, that graffiti outside Ellen Road should never be touched. It needs to be left alone and minded.
It was that consecutive run of games as well, wasn't it? Was it 92 games he played?
He only missed one because he was hungover.
Yeah. And it's like, well, not many players have been able to do something like that, and especially in the modern day with it. Back in the day, people would play through injuries, wouldn't they? And even especially at the time when there was only one sub and stuff like that. So maybe that happened a little bit more then. But now in the modern day, it's rare that you'll get a player. Dallas is the other one who will just play through his injuries and his little niggles and stuff, and just will put his all on the line for the team every single week. And Klich was definitely that guy.
Yeah. For sure. 14 Yorkshire's, no wonder we never move on. All this sentimentality, Klich should have left at least a year ago, along with some of the Rocket. Yeah, it's full of it. Like, honestly, I was reading some of the comments. It prompted me to do like a short because I was so annoyed. Like, because I think it smacks of disrespect towards Mateusz. I do. I think it's bang out of order. But there you go. You'll be happy to know as well, 14 Yorks, he got man of the match yesterday for his
great
appearance, which was amazing. I was straight on the tweet. He said we must vote for Klich, and thankfully he won the man of the match. So that was good. Joe, you mentioned there about the youngsters. Do you see? Is it Darko JB? Is it Sam Greenwood who's going to be coming on and making them sub appearances? Because I looked earlier on, and it's all but 3 games this season that Mateusz Klich hasn't come on as a sub. So he was used in that respect. So who will he turn to now? Because we're seeing Greenwood already. Is that because Sinian that's injured and maybe just Greenwood will come on for Klich? I'm not too sure. What are your thoughts?
I think it's interesting. I personally think Jesse saying we're okay in midfield is the same as Jesse saying last week, I'm not talking about transfers, and then we bring a transfer in 2 days later. I personally think they're keeping their mouth shut deliberately because they were made fools of in the summer. Sorry, rephrase that. They made themselves look like fools in the summer. Too much tweeting, too much talking, and not enough working. And they left themselves short and left it way too late. So I think this time around they're going to keep their lips shut as much as they can. There's a lot of midfielders being linked with Leeds at the moment for there not to be some fire in there somewhere. It's just, I mean, for the club to say we're not going after midfielder, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 midfielders, current central midfielders linked. There's a little bit of smoke there. I think there's something there. I don't think it's JB as the natural replacement, because I think he's probably more of a natural replacement for Adams or Roca in a kind of a holding sit in midfield role. And I think he's really good there, and he's going to be excellent when he gets a run at that. I think Greenwood, I get the arguments about Greenwood. I personally can see Greenwood is turning into a smashing number 10. I think he's got all the attributes from long distance shots to his passing range. I don't think he's there yet. There's still a lot to learn. You're taking a player who was a striker and making him into a midfielder. That takes time, but I think he's got the attributes to do that. We got to bring somebody in with experience. The club didn't have enough midfielders last year. We sold one. We let Phillips go. We brought in Adams. Forshaw's out injured again. Klich is now left. That's still, do the maths, we're still one short. We're still one shy. So for me, there needs to be some experience. I want to see the young lads coming through, but I also want to see a couple of experienced players. If you go back to the O'Leary team, and what he did really well after George Graham brought in these kind of older players around the outside of the team, and then O'Leary came in and filled it with youngsters, but you had that experienced spine and block, and you had people like Jason Wilcox who came in towards just after O'Leary came in, that added that experience, and that helps the team to grow and get better and the young lads to learn faster. You can't do it all with kids, so there needs to be experience brought in there. So for me, I think they need to bring in another midfielder. Sam Greenwood's fine. He's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be great for Leeds in 18 months to 2 years. But we got to give him time to get to that level. There's just too much. You look at Aronson already. Brendan Aronson's 22. The amount of pressure that's on his shoulders right now, not just to be a big player, a player for Leeds, but a big player for Leeds. Second of a bad run of form, everybody just piles on top of him. Like Aronson's getting dog's abuse online today. He's had 2 bad games since he's been here. And it's these kids need time to develop and get better and adjust. So for me, you got to bring in an experienced player. There's not a lot being linked. A lot of them are young players, but I don't know if we've got an out-and-out replacement for Klich. And the only reason I think Klich was even out of the team this year is because he doesn't play Jesse's style. And he wants to, like, you look at, I was on a podcast earlier on with the American guys, and they were saying, Michael said, under Bielsa, Klich used to go out wide and give Leeds width. He'd drift out and get the ball out wide and come in with it. Marsh has been very clear. I don't want you out there. I want you centrally. But Klich still does that. I just don't think he fits his style.
He did that, didn't he, last night with Ayling, and they were linking up like the old championship days. And you thought, well, yeah, it's probably not what Marsh wanted him to do, but it's the sort of thing that, and I think it does help having someone that can sometimes take it on his own shoulders to go and do that. But I mean, we talk about replacements, but we signed Sinisterra, who, if he was fit 100% of the time, you'd go, okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable letting Klich go. But because, like, Sinisterra has been brilliant when he's actually played, but he's injury prone. So you can't say, like when Radrizzani tweeted our new signing, Adam Forshaw, it's like, well, yeah, if you can get out of the hospital, like, you can't rely on, like, as good as a player can be, you can't rely on him if he's injury prone. So you kind of do need that extra body in there.
I'm not sure Rads is a benchmark for tweets, considering our 2 international strikers haven't turned out particularly well either.
Oh, don't, man. Honestly, that gets me going, honestly. Rocco, are you as confident as Joe that we'll see a midfielder?
No, I don't know though. It could have a point that kind of
probably will.
The thing is, like, Jesse and Leeds contradict themselves all the time. It was only a few weeks ago that Jesse was going on about Firpo being one of the best players in the squad, and now we've signed another guy to get him another body away from the team. And he'll go on about how much he loves Klich and wear the t-shirt, but then he clearly obviously doesn't fancy him as a player. Same with a lot of other lads. So I just don't know. He talked about Archie Gray saying he was going to be a first team player. I know he's been injured. And we've got Dallas coming back potentially. So maybe they'll use him as the new Forshaw.
That's another left back slash centre mid slash attacking mid, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I just don't know. I mean, the other thing is, Harrison's come in last night playing a more central role and did it very well. But that's one game. Harrison will come on in the next game and probably, not, be a fish out of water there. It's hard to say. I just think Klich is something different. I don't think we've got anyone that can do what Klich does. Dallas can't really do what Klich does. Klich, he takes care of the ball. He's experienced, like we've said. So, I don't think JB is the Klich replacement either. I don't know. And to be honest, I don't even know what formation we're playing or what we're planning on playing. So how do you even go about sort of adding up what we've got in the squad? Because I don't know who he wants to play where, how we're going to play, whether it's 4-3-3 or this lopsided 4-4-2. Not particularly a criticism, but just makes it hard to fathom. Maybe Jesse knows what he's planning.
I think he might be a bit like Bielsa in that he likes players to be able to play multiple positions, and then you kind of start to get the square peg round hole issue in that he'll sign like Aronson, for example, and he'll say, well, he can play on the right wing as well as in a central role, and then you start to muddy the water on whose position is actually what, which is kind of what Bielsa did, to be honest. But it's when you're bringing in a new player and you think, well, we need a Klich replacement, someone with a bit of experience who can sit in those central areas and actually make passes instead of giving the ball away. Because a lot of our youngsters seem to get a bit overexcited and give the ball away. So maybe someone who can hold on to the ball a little bit better would be better in there. But it's whether, I mean, when we were trying to sign a striker, they were talking about these number 10s that can play striker, weren't they? So it's whether if they do go for an attacking midfielder that can sort of play in that number 8 role as well, it's whether they go for somebody who is a natural in that position, or he has played right wing and he has played up front. And do you know what I mean? It's, you never know with the way that they've done the business at the moment, really, who they're going to bring in for that position.
The issues you get with that, though, it goes back to the old Ajax system of players being able to play in multiple positions. So if somebody's out, somebody else can just fill in. The team doesn't really get any weaker, and it's a great idea in principle, but it never really worked properly outside of one era of football. And it's a really good point. If you look at Leeds last season, where it started to go wrong for Bielsa last year was he had to play Robin Koch as a 6 in midfield. He could play there, but was he any good there? Not really. He was okay. He did a job, but not great. And we're in the same position this year, and it looks like, again, with Vober coming in as well, is he going to play centre half? Is he going to play left back? Is he going to play 6? You've got Pascal Struijk centre half playing left back, and you're into that square peg round hole problem. That I go back to when Neil Warnock was in charge of Leeds. We were having that conversation around square pegs and round holes. It's been nearly 10 years of us having the same conversation. Leeds, there are certain positions on a pitch where you need to have specialist players who play in a specialist position. That's your number 6, your fullbacks, and your strikers. You know, they're the ones. You can play a winger up front all you want, but they don't have that killer instinct. Like, look at Rodrigo last night. Poor game. Didn't do an awful lot. Got one moment where he had a bit of space, scores a goal. You know, wingers won't do that. They won't pop up with goals out of nowhere. A striker.
It's like, that's why Dan James was bad up front.
Correct. Yeah, because he could run all day. He could do all.
Doesn't have that instinct.
Yeah, did all the hard work, did all the pressing and running around, but then when he had to score a goal, he couldn't do it, and that's the problem.
Taking out goalkeepers.
One less player to worry about if you can score that way. But you need a 20-goal season, 20-goal a season striker in the Premier League to stay in the Premier League. You need that. Everyone knows that. You know.
Do you think where are they though, Joe? Because I
don't know.
Yeah,
I think you've got to say that maybe that could be also 2 10-goal a season strikers.
Correct. Yeah.
If you bring in somebody who can score 10 goals to complement Rodrigo, who's having the season of his life, well, for us. I think the thing is with Rodrigo, we've always said about him that if he's like, we've never seen him have a consistent run of games as a striker and not played in all these weird positions that he's not used to. And now he is, although he's made some stupid mistakes coming back into his own half, I think he's doing a lot less of that now in the recent games. I've seen him coming back a lot less and giving the ball away less, putting the ball in the back of the net more. So we can't complain about him this season particularly, other than obviously the Arsenal thing that we don't talk about. But if we can bring in another striker that can score 8 or 10 goals, then that is what you need, isn't it? Like you say, to stay up.
There was a lovely moment last night where Rodrigo crossed the halfway line into his own half near the sideline, and Marsh lost the plot and was just pointing at where he should be and screaming at him, "No, there, no, there!" Like, just don't be here.
Oh, I missed that, man. So that's
so did I, but it's good to see that it's been addressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to defend it. You can't do it. Don't do it. Go away.
I like that. Right, I'm just trying to think what games we've had in this space of time. Just looking at it. I guess Rock, I'll come to you first of all, like just to canvas opinion. Where's your head at, mate? Obviously, we've had the Newcastle great point, if you like, but the performance was dire. We get a point against West Ham. We've got some tough games coming up. Obviously, Villa away, Brentford at home. No gimmies there. Where's your head at with the current state of Leeds United?
It's a good question. I'm a bit all over the place, but I think I'm probably sort of where I was at the start of the season. And at the start of the season, I sort of predicted that we would get about 40 points and just about be all right again. I was expecting the same again, pretty much. And, we're on track to do that. I do feel better after last night. I was surprised to see so much negativity. I thought we played well, even first half, and then second half once we got the equaliser, or even once we went behind, I thought we responded really well. And as we've seen most of the time under Jesse, really, when we get desperate is actually when we start, when we start playing. So I don't know. I'm pretty calm. I think I'm probably more calm than I've been for quite a lot of the season. Newcastle, you can't celebrate that really. We were fortunate to get a point. You can be happy to get the point, but you can't sort of praise the performance. I don't think they missed 2 or 3 massive sitters really. Similar to City, we could have got absolutely panned. So those 2 results look better than they were. But I think West Ham I think we definitely deserved to win last night. So it's a step forward. So I'm sort of taking it a game at a time. I hope we play a strong team against Cardiff. I hope we go full strength and try and get a win and build some momentum, because the games coming up are hard, but the games there we need to expect to take some points, and we just need to start getting some routine victories. Like we've not really had one. All our victories, our 4 victories have sort of all been epic. We just need
Chelsea, which was a routine 3-0 win.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only time we've like dominated the side.
Just like
just a nice normal win. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't want to complain about that, because it's we do want to be entertained as well. And last night was a really good game. It was a cracking second half. So yeah, I think I'm calm. I'm fairly positive, and still at the point probably where I feel like we could have a better manager and do better. I don't think Jesse's going to be the man long term. I can't see his tactics working, but I think he's still just about doing enough to warrant a chance to keep it going and see if he can do something. But yeah, I'm not convinced at all.
No, I'm with you. And I was quite surprised at the negative reaction to last night's result as well, because I enjoyed it as a game, as a spectacle. And, Rodrigo, Fabianski makes an amazing save, right at the end. We could have easily won it. And, I'm not Jesse's biggest fan, but he can hardly do it when they scored just before half-time and just after half-time. It's literally a minute apart. It's like everything he was going to say gets ripped up. And then when he gets them in, everything he has said gets ripped up because they've conceded straight away. So I don't think too much can go on him last night. And like I said, I actually enjoyed the game. And like Newcastle, I hated. And I'm a bit like you, Rocco, when people are saying, oh, but it's a fantastic point. And when you have to look at it and think, right, well, they could have battered us about 4-0 if we're being realistic. I had someone celebrating the City result because, it's progress. We only conceded 3. I was like, on another day, they score 7. Do you know what I mean? And so what's really changed from what was before in that respect? But I think, and looking at the other teams, Southampton, etc., I think we'll be all right. And it is just a case of buckling in, I guess, and having to ride it out. But I agree with you in terms of longevity. I don't see this style and the manager being here. And someone actually sent me a tweet before I came live saying it looks like Berhalter, whatever his name is, might be getting the boot from America, and they'll want Jesse. So there might be a parting of the ways anyway, and we might just move on. Max, you're quite positive, actually, I think. I've found anyway.
That is what I was the note that I was gonna go on, quite positive. I think the first thing is the first game back after a World Cup and a month off is always going to be difficult, and then you come up against Man City, and I know it's a cliche to say 3 hits or we write a game off, but against them with the quality that they have, we tried something. We tried going 4-3-3 against them and not pushing the fullbacks as high as to not give us much space. And they did get chances in at the back post with Grealish, and he missed some absolute sitters. But I think if you put another spin on it, if Cooper doesn't make that mistake, it's 2-1, and Joffrey has that chance that just goes past the post. I mean, stranger things have happened. In football, you need a bit of luck, and sometimes Man City get luck, or these top teams get luck as well. So, I mean, we could have conceded a load of goals, and we could have conceded a load of goals against Newcastle, but we didn't in the end. We had the luck of the draw, and Meslier played excellent against Newcastle. I thought he was a real positive from that game. The one at the back post, that when over everybody, and I think it was Shah who headed it, and it just looked like it was going to go in. Any other game, it goes in, and Meslier saves it. So sometimes you need a bit of a look of the draw and the rub of the green. But I think, like we said, West Ham was definitely a massive improvement. I think it wouldn't, if we hadn't have given those stupid mistakes away, obviously to say it, we would have comfortably won 2-0. But I don't think, like, if we hadn't have given those stupid mistakes away, I don't think they would have had enough to go and score properly from open play without having a lucky goal. But I mean, Skamaka's finish is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But like, it's just schoolboy stuff. Like I said this on my live stream when it was happening. I said, for a professional defender not to be able to check his shoulder is like unbelievable. Why? What is that? Because if Strauch just goes like that, he sees the player running onto him, and he, instead of sticking a foot out, he just backs off a yard and shields him away from the box. And we haven't conceded a goal there, and we go on to win the game. I think the real positives were the way we scored our goals. It's exactly how Jesse wants to play. They were both straight down the middle. Strikers moved across each other and moved defenders around to create space. Gnonto was through on one and Rodrigo was through on the other. I think there were real positives in the attacking side of things. And I think we were better defensively. We did give some stuff away, but you're always going to give chances away when you're attacking like that. But the only properly clear-cut chances really were them scoring a penalty and their other goal where we passed it straight to their best striker. So, and obviously Michail Antonio at the back post. But I think it's an improvement on what I've seen for much of the season, to be honest. I think he has tried to work on things and has tried to make tweaks into maybe not pushing fullbacks as high and trying to close up those gaps a little bit. But I can see positive progress there. It's just frustrating, especially like you said, a lot of people aren't a fan of Jesse Marsh maybe, but I always like to make this point that individual mistakes aren't his fault. He can't legislate for them and he can't do anything about them. I can imagine how frustrating it is for him. We'd have won that game 2-0 if two of his players hadn't have made ridiculous errors. And so I feel sorry for him in that sense, because he's actually coached a good performance there, exactly what we needed, the way we needed to go about it. And we've ended up with a draw. So, I mean, we're on 17 points after 17 games, and supposedly a point per game is enough to stay up. So, like Rocco said, not panicking too much, but we need to start getting a couple of wins on the board just to make ourselves feel a little bit more comfortable in our Premier League status.
Yeah, I think you've rounded that off perfectly there, man. You did really well there. Well done. Well done. Joe, have you got anything more to add over this period?
I agree with pretty much everything the lads have said. I like to look at games a little bit different. I coach football teams and I like to look at things a little bit different. I always kind of say I never point the finger at the last person to make a mistake. I like to look back 2 or 3 phases to see, well, how many opportunities did we have to stop it before I got to this position. And I think if you look at the penalty one, it's cleared down the line. Leeds press looks fine. Rodrigo gets across, presses the fullback, but it goes down the line. And then Leeds have Koch and Roca very close to one of the West Ham players who, for some bizarre reason, manages to get between the two of them and get a ball into the wide area, which then gets passed across. But Max is 100% right on Strauch. Strauch's body shape is completely wrong. He's closed himself off. He's facing across the pitch. He's no idea what's behind him. All he got to do is open himself up a little bit and he sees everything. And as Max says, he can step out and nick it, or he can, shield him. There's no danger there. And then the same with the other one. There was something that I picked up on. I was watching on a link last night, the game last night, and I was lucky enough to see three Jesse Marsh press conferences back to back because they left the camera running, and he kept doing them with different broadcast ones, and he got progressively more annoyed as he did them, which was funny. But he kept saying the same thing about, I want them to be braver. I want people to be braver. We're not brave in the right areas. And I've heard some people criticize that statement of saying, what was he even talking about? He keeps saying it, but doesn't mean anything. I think the second goal highlights exactly what he means. Cooper gets the ball on the back line. And for most of the game yesterday, our issues are always coming out from the back. And I'm pretty critical of Liam Cooper a lot of the time from a defensive perspective. But I don't blame him in this situation because he has to look out at what he has to pass to. And nobody wanted that ball. No one was showing for it. Rocket and Adams are 2 holding midfielders, and none of them made themselves available to receive that ball. Brendan Aronson has to come back across into his own half. And bearing in mind, this is coming from a Leeds restart. And he has to come into the 6th position to show for the ball, which is not a position he should be in. Then he passes it where Rocket is, But Rockets just moves as he hit it. And it goes into that free space. And then for whatever reason, Cooper turns his back on the shot completely. So it gives him an angle to get around the outside of him. And then for me, I personally think Meslier hasn't sorted his position now. And he gets done from a low shot pretty far out. But again, I think they're all individual errors. I think this individual errors has been the story of Leeds season this year. I think for me, I criticize Jesse's tactics when it comes to Leeds' defensive system. I don't see a huge amount wrong with our attacking system. I think, as Max has said, you can start to see just patterns of play there now when we're breaking forward. There's good runs by people. We're scoring more goals than anybody in the lower half of the Premier League. So clearly something's going right from an attacking perspective, but we just can't keep a clean sheet. Against Newcastle, we showed that if we have to dig in and sit deep and play a low block, we can get a point. We can do a 0-0. But what we have shown between the last 3 games is we can't do both. We can't defend, try and get a 0-0 and score goals. It's one or the other. And we have to accept as fans that if we're going to go forward and score goals and play the 4-3-3 played last night, we are going to give up mistakes at the back and we're going to concede goals. I went through every emotion last night. I went through the first 25 minutes thinking, this is great. We look really good here. We're creating chances. They're not getting a whole lot. Into that 10-minute period either side of halftime going, this is awful. We are panicking on the ball. We keep giving it away. We're just punting it down the park like we did against City. This isn't great. And then you get to the last half an hour and thinking, this is brilliant. We're killing them. We're all over them. There's another goal coming here. It was a really good angle on Mikel Antonio's because I thought Mikel Antonio's shot at the end chance at the end was a great chance for West Ham. There's another angle on it. He's about 5 feet away from the ball. So he's miles away. And then you look at Rodrigo's chance at the end of it was 3 or 4 really well worked set pieces last night that you could see were training ground routines and nearly paid off. And I like that. There's a lot of stuff that Jesse does that I like. And then there's moments where I think we're just a bit naive and we're just a bit sloppy and we're just a bit unsure defensively what we're supposed to be doing. And I think I love the comments about Meslier. I think Meslier is a fantastic goalkeeper, but I'm in the Roy Keane school of goalkeepers. Meslier saves shots. He's supposed to. He's a goalkeeper. That is literally his job. His job is to stop the ball going in the back of the net. So when he makes great saves, I'm very much on the side of good. That's his job. He's doing what he's been paid for. Fantastic. If he stops doing that, then we can have a conversation about it. He's an excellent goalkeeper, but he's doing what he needs to do right now. But 2 points from 9, I would have been happier with 4. I thought we could have got something out of West Ham or Newcastle more than a point. But it's I suppose you look at the positive, it's 2 games unbeaten, isn't it?
Sorry, I'm just going to unmute. I had to mute because my dog's snoring. So, yeah, I mean, do you know what? People are there. That was an education for me there, Joe. I really enjoyed that, mate. Thank you very much. That was really a lot of love. Someone actually said, finally, some people with tactical awareness. Says Wade. I had to laugh. But I love that. But we've just had this, folks. And then I've just jumped on Twitter. And it is being reported on Twitter. I'll share the screen so we can bask in this together. Just bear with us 1 sec. I'll put us here. No, we won't. I'll put us down the side there. There we go. Can you see that? Is that all right? So basically, it's been reported that the 49ers takeover of Leeds United could face opposition from a Middle Eastern buyer. So who that is, what that looks like, I'm not too sure.
GFH Capital.
I'm
back.
Let's have a look. I'm just trying to find the actual.
If you see the term unfinished business, we know it's them. We can run away.
It'll be Radz's mate. Well, Radz's mate's in the Qatari Sports Investment Fund, won't it?
Yeah, he was at the World Cup, weren't he, as well? Rad Razani was recently in Qatar for the World Cup. Let's have a look. Where's the mention of the actual? Who is it?
I think if you scroll up, there was a picture of him.
Where?
Next to Radz's head. Keep scrolling.
No, but that's Parag.
That's Parag.
Oh, is it? Yes.
It just says an unnamed party.
Unless it's an unnamed nation, I wouldn't be getting too excited. If anyone from what we learned as fans as Leeds fans, it's not a bank you want taking over Leeds; it's a country.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think that obviously Rad's? Let's talk about it now. I mean, it's breaking news. Obviously, with Rad's being out there in Qatar, that maybe might have Rocco. What do you reckon? Maybe propositioned certain buyers potentially.
I hope so. I do hope so, to be honest. Like, I'm done with the 49ers even. in action, just sat there waiting to potentially take us over in 2024. I think by doing nothing, they've shown what they're all about. They don't have any burning desire to make Leeds great again. They just want to, potentially have a football club on their portfolio. I think that's pretty clear to me anyway. That's my guess. So yeah, I think we need some serious investment, and if it's going to come from Qatar, then so be it, I suppose. I think we're just at the point now where this is football. I think, football has sold its soul. So if we're going to start straight away getting into morals and stuff, I'm not really bothered.
Can you imagine how fuming Newcastle fans will be? They'll be absolutely livid, won't they?
I'm confused with the 49ers stuff. I did an interview on my channel with a guy called Cam Inman, who's the in-house reporter for the 49ers, and he's pretty close with Parag. And I wanted to kind of get a sense of what the club be like under a 49ers ownership and what they're like over there. And the impression that I got from him was they're all in on this, and they want big things. They want trophies. They want to build Leeds up. They want to, increase the size of the stadium. They want to invest in the club in the area. And from what I know, from what he told me, is they're hamstrung with the deal that they've got with Razrazani. They can't put in any of their money unless Razrazani puts in his money. Their deal is that they can match whatever he puts in, and because he put nothing in the summer, they couldn't put a penny in. They tried to. They were the one that was trying to finance the Kettler deal. They said, look, we'll pay for it, and then you take that money off the price of the club when we buy the club. And that was what they were trying to do at the time. So that's where that money was coming from. But I expected them to be, there was a possibility of a clause in January this year. They could step in a year early and take over the club. But from what I got the sense from talking to Cam, what he said was he'd spoken to Marag, say, a couple of weeks earlier when I spoke to him. And he said that he's really excited about this and they've got big plans and that they're all in on this, but they don't have the level of finance. They're big money. I think they worked it out. The York ownership, if they took over Leeds would be like top 6 in terms of owners' wealth. That's what the family have, and that's what we get. 49ers Enterprises own the 49ers, and 49er Enterprises are buying us, so it's that kind of umbrella group. But the York family run that, and it's their money, and by all accounts, they're top 6 in terms of finances, but they're not gonna get you a Premier League title. You're not gonna win a Champions League or qualify regularly for that at the moment. And as Rocco's just said, there's an element of gonna have to sell your soul here, because if we want to compete with Newcastle and Man City and get to that level, we're gonna have to sell out at some point to somebody who's got that money, and it looks like it could be a Qatar or a Saudi Arabia or somebody like that. And then you have those uncomfortable moral questions around: do you want to be owned by something like that? Well, do you want your club to get better? And if the answer is yes, and that's the only option, then you're kind of left with no choice.
It feels awful, though, doesn't it?
It's dirty.
That's the way that it has to happen. It just feels horrible that you can't. As much as the Leicester model existed for a time, and we all believed in the fairy tale that you could sign young players from the French second division and then sell them for 50 odd million pounds and keep getting better and better and only selling one key player a season and working better. And Leicester won a Premier League, but that is a 1 in a million. Actually, it's a 1 in 5,000, wasn't it? But that's not going to happen again. And we've sort of got to. I don't even feel like we'll make the Europa League unless we have a massive cash injection. Like, if the 49ers come in and they inject money and they say like players like Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle are the sort of players who lift you up to that next level. Like, if we continue to buy 10 million, 20 million pound players, I think our squad will grow and our squad will be quite good. But I think that only gets you so far. I think you have to go to a spine of a team where they've signed. So Newcastle are doing so well because they signed Sven Botman, who excellent up and coming defender, and they signed Bruno Guimaraes, who adds that extra quality in midfield. And you can't get that for 5, 10, 15 and 20 million pounds. You have to pay out to get that. And because Newcastle have had that spine now, it's like, okay, well, all the players around them are playing better, like Almiron. And if we had investment like that, then you'd have all your players who weren't so excellent, like Aronson, will probably start looking really good and scoring loads of goals. But if the 49ers can do that, then yeah, we can get to sort of European Europa League football. But I don't think you get further than that unless you're owned by a country now. pretty much.
I'd agree with that, Max. But if you look at Newcastle were very clever. When the takeover happened this time last year, the first thing that they did was strengthen at the back. They brought in Trippier straight away and Dan Burn straight away. Then they went out and signed Botman, Pope and goal. They've changed their backline. They built from the back. If we don't concede goals, we've got a chance of winning games. That's what they started with. They improved the level of the players. I'm lovely sentimental about Leeds players. I like the players that we have, but I like them as people. But I think we need better players across the park. I think if the club is going to get better, then better quality players in every single position. And that only happens if you, and for me, I wish we'd started at the back instead of starting in the middle. And we'd gone and looked at, the back four and go, well, are they good enough? Are we getting good enough players in? We may end up getting, give it a year before you see the likes of Christensen and Vogber when he comes in. Give you an idea of what they're going to be capable of, because there's an adapting period there that's needed. Give them that chance to see what happens. The problem is we've got to stay in the Premier League in the meantime, and that's the payoff, and that's the tricky bit. But we've got it again. I completely agree, Max. If we're going to get onto the next level, then you've got to be bidding for players in the 40 to 60 million pound bracket on a regular basis, and not in the 10 to 15 million bracket.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one thing I'd add as well is that for me, Leeds are one of the biggest clubs in the country. One of the 4 biggest clubs in the country for me. You can class that however you want, but that's my biased opinion. All our rivals are owned by these, massive, governments or whatever, and we want to compete with our rivals. We're completely hamstrung at the moment. We can't do that, and we're talking about our rivals the people we even want to aspire towards as being Leicester and Brighton. Leeds are bigger than that. Leeds can be whatever they want to be, and if it means that we have to be owned by a evil country, then that's what we're going to have to do. And it's not forever. In 25 years' time, football might all have eaten itself, and we'll be back to normal and competing on a level playing field again somewhat. But I think that's the way football is. So if Leeds want to get back to being rivals with our historic rivals, it's just what's going to happen.
I agree with you, man. Like, listen, I know the whole morality side of it and all that sort of stuff. I get it. But if Qatar came and bought Leeds United tomorrow, I'd be happy because I know Leeds United were then just going to buy all the best players and we were going to progress. Because ultimately, you want to win things, man. I get it. But is there a little bit, maybe a part of views, because that's what's general consensus on Twitter, that this unnamed source, etc., is maybe a bit of a red herring because Rads maybe wants 49ers to get a move on now? Do we think this maybe a little bit of that? Because we know Rads works the media like that,
I don't think Rads wants to be here anymore.
No, I
got that impression from him. Like, Rads has money. He did sell 11 Sport. He did sell out to the Zone Sports Group as well. So he has got wealth of his own. But I mean, put yourself in his position for a minute. You're selling a club. You know that at least in the next 12 months, that club's going to be gone. You've got a guaranteed amount of money if they stay in the Premier League coming in. Do you put any more of your own money into it at that stage with 12 months to go and going, well, am I going to put any more? I'm not going to make any more money from this, but put it in.
Not unless you're a Leeds fan.
Not unless you're that's exactly it, Max. Because if you're a Leeds fan, you put everything into it and you try and do it right, and you try and put the club in the best position you can. He was involved in the sale of AC Milan as well, and that didn't go particularly well. He sold it to a group of Hong Kong billionaires who turned out after 12 months to be flat broke and had to sell the club again. But he was involved in the sale of the club to them. And he's made no secret that he tried to buy Salernitana in Italy as well. He wants an Italian side. He wants to go back to Italy. He wants to have his stuff over in Italy. And I don't blame him. I would hate to be abused by Leeds fans on a weekly basis because that's what we do. We've abused every owner we've ever had. We've got on their back. And more often than not, rightly so. But I don't think he wants to be here anymore. I think he's happy to see the club go. I think he would sell up early if he could. I don't know how a third party comes in and buys a club if there's already a pre-existing agreement in place. 49ers, apparently, according to all the Times and the Mail Plus sources, have said that they have gone out and got the money organised and separated from their own assets so they can complete the move quickly. Yeah. But it takes 12 months to line that up. I thought we'd hear something this January. I thought they might actually jump early and not lose their investment. But apparently, if Leeds go down, the buyout of Leeds is 100 million less. So they would save money that way as well. But we'd lose a lot of players and you'd be building from scratch again. So I don't know. I would be surprised with anybody else. I won't say no to it. I want Leeds in the best position we can get in. So if we've got to compete, we need money.
Yeah. I do think though that, I mean, I'd be happier to sort of I don't know. I think the way that Newcastle have done things and the way that Man City did things, they kind of just went from 0 to 100 straight away, didn't they? They got this investment and they've like Newcastle were already second or third or whatever. They were already doing unbelievably well. I don't know how I would feel about success overnight. I think it's good when you've worked for something because it's about the journey to get there, isn't it? When you look at Man City now and the fans, and I was at the 7-0 game last season and they were 7-0 up and they were all leaving. The stadium wasn't full. They were all leaving and going home and they were 7-0 up and no one was barely singing. And it's like, well, I think that's what happens when you get success overnight. You're like, you haven't had that journey to get there. Obviously, Man City have had their own history and haven't always been that good. But if Leeds were to be taken over by the 49ers and then maybe have a Conference League run and a Europa League run and then were bought by somebody who can take us to that extra step, I'd probably be happy with that. Obviously, that's a fantasy world and that's my ideal situation. But I'd be happier for now with the 49ers coming in and actually investing than I would being taken over by one of these sovereign wealth funds, especially just because, I mean, during the lead up to the World Cup, I watched a lot of videos surrounding the controversy around Qatar and all that sort of stuff. And it puts you in an awkward position as a fan where your moral compass is like, this is my club and there's nothing I can do about this. But these people with dodgy money are coming in to do this. So I know it's sort of a fantasy world to say that, but I would like to see if the 49ers can do something first and expand the stadium as well is the other thing.
Yeah, I think, look, I as much as that might excite a lot of us, I think it probably is a bit of a red herring. And who's going to come in and buy only like 50% of the football club? Because 49ers own the rest. So it's still not going to change anything, is it, really? But I do think there is, of course, you have to think of it morally. But what I will say, those that maybe disagree with what I'm saying, I'm not sure I 100% believe that you would move on and support another football club, because I'm seeing the comments. I don't think you would. I think if Leeds,
I would never.
I'm not on about you, but I'm just saying, like people in the chat saying,
general, like,
I would do this, I would do that. I'm saying when the situation actually arises, would you? Because I dare say Newcastle's fan base has got bigger now than it did before. So I will just add that in there. But I get it. I understand.
Joe, how many protests have you seen outside Newcastle's ground since they got bought over by Saudi Arabia?
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
We saw the opposite, actually, didn't we? With Newcastle fans all wearing the Saudi garb, and and they've got a kit as well, haven't they?
They released a second strip that's identical to the Saudi Arabian national team's, identical, and they're like, "Oh no, it's just a coincidence. We've always had green kits." Like,
it's a bit on the nose, that one, wasn't it?
But like, people bought it. People bought it more, and you're like, well, there's your moral compass. It didn't last very long. We're all hypocrites. I criticized the World Cup going to Qatar. I criticized everything about it. I think Infantino and FIFA is an absolute bellend. You know, I went in pretty hard on them as well. Still watched it. Still watched it. So we're all hypocrites when it comes to it.
It was brilliant. The football was brilliant. Like, it was a great World Cup.
Was it?
It is. You know, and that's just something we have to accept, right? Like, Infantino, a lot of them, football's run, it's corrupt, it is what it is. Like, what can we do? We can't change it. You know what I mean? That's the facts.
Get on board.
Hey?
I said either leave it or you get on board. So none of us are going to stop supporting Leeds in the morning, so.
Exactly. Right, just to wrap up then, I want to talk, who should we talk about? Let's talk about Wilfried Gnonto. Rocco, I think we spoke about him before we went off for the World Cup, and we were saying like, oh, we've sort of like just stumbled upon him, etc. But what a buy really now in reflection. Like he looks like he's going to be an absolute star, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just a phenomenon, isn't he? I mean, the goal last night was magnificent. The strike was Yeboah-esque. Like, the ball just exploded off his left foot. It was magnificent. But then also when he received the ball from the throw-in or from the flick, I think from Rodrigo, he did a little body swerve, just to get away from about three men. And it was the simplest thing, but like just next level. It was great. He looks so good. Even when he gets tackled, he retains the ball somehow, and he's so positive. He's confident. He just looks the real deal. And him and Somerville, linking up really nicely. It's amazing. I think them two have probably saved Jesse's job, really. Looking back over the last few weeks, which might be going a bit far, but I mean, they've been a revelation, and no one really expected it, I don't think. And to say we've got Sinisterra coming back, we've got Harrison there, who still, played well last night when he came on. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches we've got in those three positions, which is just amazing, really. And for 4 million. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely, Max. It's interesting. Rocco touched Rocco, not Rocker. I've done that before. You can see that relationship both on and off the pitch that we're getting from Somerville and Gnonto, can't you?
I think as soon as they did that dance against Liverpool after they scored that winner, I was like, oh, these two have obviously made good pals. And it's as much as it's like nice to see just because it's wholesome, but it shows that a player has come in straight away, and it shows that they're settling into the team, and you want somebody to take them under their arm straight away, and you're happy when they do, because often that can be the thing that settles somebody in quicker to the team, is making a friend, or do you know what I mean? Somebody who, I think somebody on the Square Ball was talking about how I think Somerville was getting a haircut, but he'd invited Gnonto around to play FIFA, and he was just sat in the background with his little controller. And I was just like, well, yeah, they seem like they've made good friends on and off the pitch. And like you say, it's just like the direct running and the fearlessness that is it. You don't see it very often, and when you do, you're like, this is exciting to watch. I know you've said in the past, Joe, haven't you, about not being as exciting to watch under Jesse Marsh. Obviously it's not, but when you have players like that, they can bring that little bit of adrenaline back into it. As soon as they get the ball, you're going, and you know he's gonna try and make something happen. So yeah, and I think we've got almost apart from, if we were to sign a striker as well, we've kind of got a bit of an embarrassment of riches in those attacking positions now, because somebody said to me on my stream, they said, well, where does Harrison fit in if Sinisterra, Somerville and Gnonto and Aronson are all fit? I said, well, it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? In different games, you might need a different option, and that is what we haven't had.
Yeah.
Being able to say, okay, West Ham are going to play like this tonight, so we're going to play Gnonto because he's going to run at them and put the fear of God in the defenders. In other games, you might say, okay, well, this one's for Jack Harrison because he's good at taking it down the line and getting it in the box or whatever. So I think it's almost as if people are like, well, no, he's not going to get a game, but it's because we're not used to saying, bloody hell, we've got options, and we can actually choose who we want to play based on how they're going to work in the game. And yeah, Gnonto being an excellent addition to that has really, really helped us out this season.
Yeah, for sure. Joe, thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's great. Not Premier League ready, but great.
No, right?
There's someone just said it in chat, it was smoke and mirrors from Jesse, when he said, I believe that. I think he knew what he was bringing in. I think it was just, let's just temper the expectation on this kid, because we've made a balls at the final day of the transfer window, so let's not put all the pressure on his shoulders. Let's try and give him a break. This kid looks like he's well able to take any pressure you put on his shoulders. He seems to be loving himself out there. He just positive running. Every time he gets the ball, he turns and goes towards goal. His close control is just eye-watering. It's brilliant to watch him when he gets going. These little nutmegs. We haven't had anyone nutmeg players since Pablo, and Willie twice last night made a show of two West Ham players, and I don't think he's even got into his stride yet. He's 18. You consider what this kid has ahead of him when he gets used to the Premier League. He's still learning that when he gets to that level.
He's not that young. He's 19 now, so he's
positively
a senior player. Yeah,
rubbish him out soon. He's past his prime. Yeah, he's been great, and I love this thing. The guys have said it as well, and I agree. The relationship with him and Somerville is brilliant to see. The more of that we see, the better. That it means the squad is close together and they're pulling the same direction. Yeah, he's been great. I outside of another number 9, because Pat Bamford's made out of chalk. I don't think we need any other players in that part of the pitch. I think we're good. I think wide players, we've got 2 to 3 players in every position. Gnonto wasn't even bought as a wide player. He was bought as a striker and is playing wide. He actually played in the 10 for part of the first half last night and looked really good in there as well. So you've got great options across there as well. I think he's going to get better and better. And considering what we paid for him as well, 5 million is an absolute steal. I know it could potentially go to 10 in the end, but it's 5 million up front for a kid who's come in and again, the Yeboah thing was the first thing I thought of when I saw him swing his left leg at that, because I don't think he's naturally left foot. I think he's a right footer. But the way he just turned and popped it, it was like, that's instant. The keeper didn't even move. There wasn't even a look to try and get down. That's just back of the net. And then Rodrigo, who apparently has been taking him under his wing a little bit and trying to help him, goes and does the exact same kind of thing. Another rocket of a strike from the edge of the box. So it's great to see these relationships that they're building with each other. It bodes well. And I think we've got a class act in Wilfried Gnonto, and I can only see him getting him better. Just fingers crossed he stays away from injuries.
Yeah, that's important. And I seen something as well the other day. I think someone had sent Gnonto a picture of his kids with Gnonto and Somerville on back of the shirts, and then he got a reply, and Gnonto, they were sat in the dressing room, and he took a picture next to Somerville and sent them back. You know what I mean? So it's them little things, isn't it, that make things. So that is, it's really good. I love that about the squad. You know what I mean? The current crop. I think a lot of that comes down to like Liam and Aileen and the leadership and attitudes that's fostered within the group as a whole. You know, I think they are really good at that, and that's why they're still around the place. So it's.
I mean, football is about partnerships at the end of the day. Whether you're playing with your centre back partnership or your full back to centre back or whatever, them two forming that partnership is so good, because because of the off the field stuff, because they're becoming such close friends, and then when you see it on the field, they know what each other are gonna do, and you see that with like Jay was talking about before, when Klich and Ailing started linking up together, they haven't potentially played together for quite a long time, and so they go back in, and it's like riding the bike, and they know what each other are going to do straight away. And that is the value of having relationships within your team and partnerships, where Gnonto and Somerville, Gnonto drove with the ball. Somerville was like, he's going to go beyond me here. So when he received it, he already knew what the next step was going to be. And the West Ham defenders didn't, which makes a big difference, because if they've got almost that telepathic connection to say, I know where he's running. I've seen him do it in training every day. We've done this a million times. And that is invaluable.
Yeah.
It's muscle memory, Max, isn't it? Because for me last night, I thought Somerville looked rusty. I actually didn't think he was at his best. I thought he looked a little bit of half a yard, just reaction-wise off things. But in that moment when him and Gnonto, that thing that you just said there, he knew exactly where he was going to be. It's muscle memory. It's that partnership. It's constantly doing it in training. So even when you're having an off day, it's still a flick of the foot into the space, and lovely reactions.
It's why we'd often played better when Bamford came on, because everybody around him, even if he didn't have a great game, everybody around him knew what he was going to do with the ball, so they know where to run, and in turn, it makes us all play a little bit better. Whereas other players, maybe they haven't got that connection with. So, yeah, like we said, football's about partnerships, and the more of them that we can form. And that's what we said, though, isn't it? Our attacking play isn't really the issue, to be honest. We've got good attackers. It's the amount we concede at the back. But we're being positive. Well, do
you know what, though? Do you know what? During this hour that we've done, hour and 2 minutes, and listening to each person's opinion has maybe help me put like a positive slant on it a little bit in my own mind. You know what I mean? I think sometimes having conversations with other fans who have different opinions can help you see things differently 100%. And that's why I try to sample as much content as I can, because over this Christmas period, honestly, Leeds United have been depressing me. Like really, really depressing me, because it has the power to do that. You know, not many things in my life have the power to have such a big impact on my mood, but my football club does. You know what I mean? And it can stay with me, and I'll be walking the dogs like pondering, why didn't he change it? Or why didn't, you know what I mean? We all do it, right? And it's great to be able to, you know, have this group together, because I've really got loads from it myself tonight, and I know there's been a lot of positive comments in the chat as well. So I want to thank you all for coming on and you know, putting your thoughts across. We will bring it to an end. Like I said, I don't want to keep everyone all night. Everyone's got lives, etc. But before we do, obviously, I'm just going to give everyone an opportunity to talk about things that they're doing. I know there's been a lot of love in the chat for Joe, obviously, with it being your first appearance here. Do you want to tell them about your channel, mate, and what's going on over there?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks. This has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed this. The hour's flown by. I have a YouTube channel called Leeds United The View. It's daily news video in as short amount of time as I can get into. So it's usually 5-6 minute long videos. And I try to deliberately stay away from content that other Leeds contributors make to try and keep it a bit different. So I don't do watch alongs and that kind of stuff because that's your thing, Joe. So you guys all do. So I try and stay away from that. So I'm not encroaching on people either. And yeah, so Leeds United The View is my channel. And if you want to get me on Twitter, it's @JerLynch on Twitter as well.
Yeah, make sure you check him out. Someone asked earlier on, do you have FA coaching badges?
I have a UEFA B license.
There you go. See, someone said he might have, and there you go. Thank you very much. Max, go on, tell us about Leeds lately.
Yeah, just doing the transfer videos at the moment. Hopefully more will come out in January, but I've already done one on Voba, and I like Jay was saying, I like to try and put a little bit of a different spin on it. So when I look at the transfers, I'll tell you how it's actually going to affect our team rather than, do you know what I mean? Just statistics that are out there, just like goals and assists and stuff. You can kind of get more of a feel for how they might actually slot into our system and stuff. And then obviously I've been trying to do some live watch alongs as well, encroaching on Joe's territory. But
just stay in your lane, mate. Talk about tactics and let me do the screamy things. All right, that's it. And then we've got an author, and of course Leeds. That mate, I was walking today with my dogs, and it didn't come up in my podcast feed. Where's it at?
Yeah, we've had to take a bit of a break because James and Paul both have very young babies, so it's just been quite difficult. World Cup came at a perfect time, but yeah, we'll be back very soon. Hopefully at the weekend, and then yes, you can also read my 3 books, League One Leeds, The O'Leary Years, and Marcelo Bielsa versus the Damned United.
And the next one in a couple of years.
Is O'Leary Years? You wrote that, did you?
Yeah. Have you read it?
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I bought it a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Enjoy.
Off a plane trip I'm going to be going on. That's brilliant.
I love that. I love that. See, there you go. You'll have to speak to Rocker, send it over. He might sign it for you. Send it back. You know what I mean? That's brilliant. So yeah, listen, great panel tonight, great guests. We'll definitely have them back next time if they're up for it. So yeah, go on over, sub to their channels, buy their books, etc. And we will see you again, hopefully after the Cardiff game. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your